G'day guys, we just made up some coils for people who want to use them on a base to use as a drag coil or a pull behind coil. You can just put these on wooden skids and a couple of planks of wood or plastic or whatever, and connect it to your detector, and you can just shape it any which way you want. You can convert it into a figure eight if you have a lot of interference, and you can make an elliptical or a patch finder, stretch it out in the horizontal. You make it sort of something around about 6 inches by whatever the length turns out to be as a big patch finder coil. Yeah, so that's only for comparison. We threw a shoe in there to give you an idea of how big this thing is. And we had another order, and I was going to click it up so you can see this. I don't know if you can actually see that at the moment there on the ground. Might be a bit hard, but yeah, Dave's just finished off a 100-inch coil, and so I don't know if you can see it that clearly, but yeah, you can see it goes right up and around. He's got it out in his backyard. You can see it, the black line on the ground. So that is big. That is a really big coil, and the fellow wants this as a drag coil. He's going to set it up to find meteorites, and need a big skid for that. But then again, if you're in a high interference, noisy environment, you can flip it over into a figure eight shape, and it'll cut out all the noise, and it's going to go very, very deep indeed. Or you could make it into a really long elliptical. It'll be narrower, but an elliptical of that size, if you sort of bring the edges in, will go extremely deep because of the size. You know, if you elongate it so it has you know, the sides come in and the front and back of the coil get longer, it will still go extremely deep, and you can configure it any which way you want. So yeah, that's the big drag coil. I was trying to think, how do you make a skid for that? You'd have to use something like quarter inch or less, or 1/8 of an inch, 3mm plywood, I would say. You know, you wouldn't have a big sheet of plywood. You'd probably make it in slats or something like that, and just you know, lay you know, the wood over, you know, to say something like 2 long pieces, one in the middle, and a couple of cross braces or something like that. And anyway, one hell of a drag coil. We'll see if we can get some feedback on that when it's out in the field, and we'll see how it goes in finding meteorites. So yeah, that took a long time to make that. You think that it's easy to do a coil like that. That is around about 2 days work in that coil, 2 solid days work making that. You can't you know, just throw it together. Because it's so big, you have a issue with shield to winding capacitance, and you really got to space it correctly, or else the coil won't work. This one's tested and it works fine. He actually tested it before the shielding was put on the bench, or huge table actually, where this was made, and tested it out in the backyard as well. And the detector fires up, and yeah, you know, we usually use a big metal object baked bean cans, Coke cans, whatever we have around, and get a wooden ladder and stand above the coil and just wave it and see how far it can detect those size objects. And usually, we don't have enough height on our ladder, so you got to dig big, deep holes. If you're using something like that. The other advantage about that size coil is that you won't be digging any birdshot, right? You'll be able to tell if it goes over the winding, if you've got small targets. But, if you get 2 beeps and nothing in the middle, it's small stuff on the surface. And, you could probably, when you get the second beep, you could, stop dragging and go and look at the back of the winding and see what's around there. Maybe have another detector as well, like a little VLF or something, and if it's a small target, if it's gold, you don't want to walk over it. And VLF, you can discriminate very quickly and see if it's worth digging or not. But I suppose if you're looking for meteorites, you're looking for iron, so do you need to discriminate? Of course not in that regard, but if you're looking for gold, you can have a second detector there, and preferably I would use something like a VLF type detector because of the discrimination capability. So you're not stopping and digging up and mucking around looking for rusty nails and things like that, which are definitely out in the bush or out anywhere. So that's the big 100-inch drag coil. It's probably the biggest drag coil that has been made, as far as I know. I don't know anyone else that has a 100-inch coil. But the way we make our coils, they're very, very flexible, because it is flexible, of course. And you just put it on a piece of plywood or whatever, skids or whatever you want. And the best way to mount these coils is that we can wrap, or what I've done when I've used drag coils before, I just put a bit of Velcro every 6 inches around the coil, and I'd stick down Velcro on my wooden platform, and I stick the coil where I want it to be and just keep it there. And if I do have an issue when there's a noisy environment with a lot of power line interference or any type of interference, radio interference, whatever, I can quickly just, strip it off where it's held down with the Velcro, and flip it into a figure 8 and completely null out the interference, and just Velcro it down again in a figure 8 shape. So, if you're out looking for really big stuff and you do have the noise come up, atmospheric noise, whatever, it's very easy. Just flip it into a figure 8 shape. Just flip it over in the middle position, so you've got 2 circles. They're both out of phase to each other. So when you go over a big target, you're going to probably get a signal, a null, and another signal. And where the null is where your target is. So just you look down on the null between the 2 signals, and that's where the target will be. So yeah, that's that gigantic big coil. And like I say, it's very, very open. It won't open. Amazing, isn't it? No, it won't open. Try again here. It's funny, isn't it? Opened before, now it won't open. Oh, there we go. You have to click it multiple times. But yeah, that's a 50-inch coil anyway. So that's pretty decent size to drag around. It's going to definitely go very, very deep. And you can put, you can, instead of using plywood, I'll tell you what I did back in 1994 4, 5, 6, somewhere around there. Might have been 1994. I made a coil roughly around about that size, and I got little 5 by 10 millimeter kiln dried pine strips, and that they're very, very light. And I actually made a set of spokes, like a bicycle wheel, very similar to that. And I put a coil mount in the middle, and you know, a bit of hot melt glue here and there, some cable ties, and I made up an extremely lightweight frame to hold the coil. And I used that coil on an old SD 2000 detector, which came out at the time. And I went down just off the old Melbourne Road at Creswick, and it was just up from a place they call the Portuguese Pit, where there was a stack of gold came out in the 1800s. And I was not far off the road, and I think I've told this story 1,000 times before. I think it's in the Gold, Gem and Treasure magazine and wherever else it is. But what actually happened, it was very, very open area, and I swung it. I was probably just a couple of meters, 10 feet or so from the side of the road, and I got this big, deep, sort of a deep reverse sounding signal. Instead of getting you like a whoop sound, it was like, it went whoop, like that, right? It's the best I can do. But I thought it would have been possibly a good chance of being junk because it was so close to the road. But I decided to dig it anyway, and luckily it was beside the road. There was mainly pipe clay. It was very easy to dig through. And anyway, upon digging down, the deeper I got, the more I was feeling lucky, because junk doesn't go down 3 or 4 feet, but around about 4 feet down, about 1.2, 1.3 meters or something. I was putting my hand down there and grabbing everything and pulling it up, and there was rocks down there, and I just pulled up this rock and I just stopped as I put it down. I went, that was heavy. So anyway, that turned out to be a 20-ounce piece of gold, 20-ounce, fairly rounded shape, and yeah, that was detected with a coil roughly about that size. I think it might have been, let me think back then. This is a long time ago I did this, so 35 inches it was. It was a 35-inch coil I made, and that one there's a 50. So a little bit less than that, but I could still swing the 35 pretty easy. So would have romped in. So maybe bigger, it's probably an idea, go back with bigger coils into the same location and go over it again. So anyway, that's our big coils. We can make these custom sizes too. Anyone who wants a custom coil for a pulse induction detector, we don't make anything like this in double D. They're all monos, but you can shape them any which way you want into a long skinny sausage to use, in long ways to get depth, between trees. It'll still get down really deep. Or you can, on open fields, you can use it as a long skinny sausage horizontally to get massive ground cover for finding patches. And that is the idea of those coils. They're easy to ship. They fold up. You can store them very easily. And that's why, we sell these all around the world. And a lot of them go over to Alaska and Nevada for silver, actually. Big chunks of silver they find. And meteorites. But, you can shape it any way you want. And, you can have some sort of skid type. you could probably put two little snow sleds together or something, and just mount it to something like that. But I think maybe plywood is a better option because you get closer to the ground, being flat, and all you want to do is put a couple of like a skid. I don't know if you can get some bent plastic and stick it on the front of whatever you attach it to, so it just pulls over rocks and scrub and stuff very easy. There's many ways to do it. Maybe I should build some skids up and things like that, and just do it as a how-to. But anyway, that's the coils. I'm not going to bother trying to click back to the big one. You know how big it is. It works out that the 100-inch one is 8 meters in circumference. So it gives you an idea how much shielding and spacing and winding and putting on the protection and everything. It's a big process, and it does take a long time to do the really big ones. So yeah, labor intensive, but if you want the big gold, you're not going to find it with a small coil if it's down deep, and because gold is so heavy over hundreds of thousands, millions of years, most of the gold of particular size works its way down to the clay layer, or even onto the bedrock, depending whatever the bottom is. So if you get an idea of how deep the ground is, you can tailor your coil to get decent sized gold in those areas. Yeah, I know it looks a bit funny with the shoe sitting in the middle of it there, but that's, like I say, it's probably a size 12 shoe. Give you a bit more idea of how big that one is. Anyway, that's probably enough on that. Just David just made that 100-inch one, so I thought I'd put it up. Just might as well just video the picture of it rather than video a coil on the ground. Same effect. You get the idea anyway. So that's how big coils we make. We can make small ones. You could probably ask David for a bigger one than 100-inch. He'd probably scream. But yeah, because making big coils like that, you get RSI in your wrists and your hands go numb because of the you have to flip the insulation around, and you've got to put on tapes and things, and round and round and round. You think you got to do that over 8 meters on that. So no, I think that's probably getting close to a theoretical limit on how big you really want to make a coil, because you're going to get capacitance problems with the shield to the wires, just so much surface area. But anyway, that's that. Anyway, catch us.